We see trees every single day. They line our streets, they fill our parks. They're just kind of there. But have you ever really stopped and thought about what's going on inside one? Because while they might look still on the outside, underneath that bark is a whole world of activity. So let's dive in and uncover the secret life of a tree.
So seriously, what is happening in there? You might think a tree trunk is just a big, solid log of wood, but that couldn't be further from the truth. It's actually more like a bustling city, with superhighways, a support skeleton, and a nonstop construction crew, all working together 24/7. In this explainer, we're going to take a journey right into the heart of that city to see how it all works.
Okay, so before we zoom in on the trunk, we need a quick map of the whole operation. It helps to think of a tree in 3 main parts, and each one has a really critical job to do.
Up top, you've got the crown. Think of this as the tree's solar panel and its personal food factory. Then you have the trunk, which is both a superhighway for supplies and the tree's structural spine. And way down below, you've got the roots, which act like a combination anchor and sponge, holding on tight and soaking up all the good stuff from the soil.
So let's talk about the crown, because this is really where all the energy comes from. The leaves are packed with these tiny green power plants called chloroplasts. And this is where the magic of photosynthesis happens. I mean, they're literally taking sunlight, air, and water, and turning it into sugary food to power the entire tree. Oh, and as a pretty amazing bonus, they release the oxygen that you and I are breathing right now. No big deal.
All right, so while that's all happening up top, the roots are down below doing double duty. You've got these big, thick stability roots that are all about one thing, anchoring that tree so it doesn't blow over. But the real unsung heroes are the feeder roots. These tiny, hair-like threads are the ones that absorb almost all the water and nutrients the tree needs to live.
Okay, we've seen the top, we've seen the bottom. Now for the main event. We're going on a journey inside the trunk, and we're going to peel it back layer by layer to see what's really going on in there.
So, the first thing you touch when you put your hand on a tree is the outer bark. Just think of it as the tree's suit of armor. It's actually made of dead tissue, and its whole job is to be this tough, protective shield against, well, everything. We're talking insects, disease, even getting bumped by a car. Right underneath that armor, things get interesting. You've got the inner bark, which is also called the phloem. Now, if the leaves are the food factory, then the phloem is the 24/7 food delivery service. It's a layer of living tissue that takes all those sugars made up in the leaves and transports them down to feed every other part of the tree. Now for what might be the most important layer of all, the cambium. This layer is the absolute powerhouse of the tree. It is incredibly thin. We're talking just a few cells thick, but this is the growth engine. It is constantly dividing, making new phloem on the outside and new xylem on the inside. This is exactly how a tree grows wider every single year. So what are those new cells the cambium makes on the inside? Well, they become the sapwood, or the xylem. This is the tree's plumbing system. It's basically a massive bundle of microscopic straws that sucks water and minerals all the way up from the roots to the very tippy top of the leaves. And the power it takes is just incredible. It's pulling water against gravity, sometimes hundreds of feet into the air. Over time, as the cambium keeps making new layers of sapwood, the old inner layers eventually die and they become heartwood. This is the tree's skeleton. It's not moving water anymore. Its only job is to be the super strong, dense central column that holds the whole thing up. And this, by the way, is why you can see a tree that's completely hollow in the middle but is still perfectly alive and healthy. As long as those outer living layers are working, it's good to go. Okay, so let's just nail this down because it's so important. You've got 2 superhighways inside the trunk. The xylem, or sapwood, is the water pipe, moving water and minerals up from the roots. The phloem, or inner bark, is the food delivery, moving sugars down from the leaves. It's this beautiful two-way system that keeps the whole organism humming. So that explains how a tree gets wider, but how does it get taller? Well, this leads us to one of the most fascinating secrets about how trees grow, and it's probably not what you think. That's right, I'm going to say it again. A tree does not stretch to grow taller. Unlike you and me, once a piece of the trunk is formed, it is locked in that position forever. So, how in the world does it get taller? The secret is in these special zones called apical meristems. You'll find them at the very, very tips of the branches and the very tips of the roots. Growth only happens right there. New cells are added at the top, pushing the tree up, and at the bottom, pushing the roots deeper.
It's why if you carve your initials into a tree trunk 6 feet off the ground, they will still be 6 feet off the ground 50 years later. The trunk below it doesn't stretch at all.
And you know what else that yearly growth process creates? Something we've all seen. Tree rings. Remember that cambium layer working away? Well, every year it adds a whole new layer of xylem or sapwood. And that one layer, created over a single growing season, is what we see as an annual ring when we look at a tree stump.
And these rings, they're basically the tree's diary. You can read its life story. A wide, light-colored ring means it was a great year. Lots of water, lots of sun, lots of growth. But a narrow, dark ring, that tells a story of a tough year, maybe a drought or a cold spring. And of course, if you count all the rings, you can find out exactly how old the tree is. Scientists who do this are called dendrochronologists, and they can reconstruct entire climate histories this way.
Okay, so we've gone deep into the biology, which is just amazing stuff. But now let's pull the lens back out and ask the big question. Why does any of this matter? Why are these complex living things so important?
Well, the gifts that trees give to the world are just staggering. They literally produce the oxygen we need to exist. They're one of our biggest allies in fighting climate change by breathing in carbon dioxide and locking it away for centuries. They create homes for millions of species. They hold our soil together, and they give us wood to build our homes. They are, without a doubt, one of the pillars of our entire ecosystem.
All right, I know that was a ton of information, so let's boil it all down. If you're going to walk away from this explainer remembering just a few things, make it these 5 key facts. First, a tree's got 3 main parts: crown, trunk, and roots. Second, remember that layered trunk? Bark on the outside, then phloem for food going down, cambium for growth, xylem for water coming up, and heartwood for support. Third, this is the mindbender. Trees only grow taller at their very tips. Fourth, tree rings are a history book telling us a tree's age and its life story. And finally, number 5, trees are these amazing living engines that are absolutely vital for a healthy planet.
So, I really hope that the next time you walk past a tree, you see it a little differently. Not just as a piece of a landscape, but as this incredibly dynamic, living being with a story, a whole history written right into its core. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What story does the oldest tree near you have to tell? Thanks for watching.